Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada, where we are going to be playing the sweeping epic game 1939 from Historical Board Gaming. And we're just going to do a quick flyby of the map and show you what's going on as James the German is trying to figure out what his builds are going to be. Germany in this game, if you don't know, they do get what's called a second impulse. So this is September 1939, and they're going to get a second impulse. So they can do a round of attacks. So they do a regular turn essentially, put their build on, and then they can do another turn. They don't get another buy, but they get another round of combat moves, combat, non-combat moves. Alright, but they won't be putting another build on or anything. So it's not horrible, but essentially what it does is pretty much guarantees that Paris is going to fall. I think we've seen once where Paris didn't fall. Just got diced hard. So unlike 1936, everybody's tooling up for war here right away. America and Russia have to roll to increase their income to their war level status. 48 for Russia and 80 for America. There are bonuses when certain things happen that will bump them up, but they're pretty anemic to start. Italy is not at war on their turn. So, you know, Britain's got a nice little fleet here, and you'd think maybe they can go try to take out an Italian battleship, do the Taranto raid from Axis and Allies 40 fame, but they can't do it because Italy has not yet declared war. And after Paris falls, we're going to be rolling to see which territories and ships go Vichy, so pro-Axis, or go pro-Allied, become Free French. But we'll let you know what goes on here right after turn one. Round one is over, and as always, the Axis have had a really good round. They did have one little hiccup we'll tell you about, but up here, the British Navy has ceased to exist. It's completely destroyed for the loss of a handful of U-boats. But that's it. But the Germans, as you can see, took Paris with authority, and they ended up getting a sub, a destroyer, and a battleship from Vichy, France. So they got a whole bunch of fun stuff there. But they did have trouble going into Poland. The Poles held them up in western Poland there, and so Warsaw did not fall. Which actually, oh, we still got to give a couple bucks to Britain there. So the Soviets held off. Taking East Poland because that $2 for East Poland actually goes to England. So we're going to have to make sure we give that to England. And then we roll for Free French, and you can see the Free French rolls went really, really well here. And yeah, they're in that top box at the end.
Oh, okay.
You can see all these British roundels. That's Free French. And then we left some Free French just for the territories that don't have any money, and some Vichy territories. But all the French Foreign Legion survived, and Vichy France also got a cruiser. Got a couple of subs that we brought over here, but were summarily sunk by the Italian Navy because I did not put up blockers.
Oh, this guy needs to land.
Oh, there you go. And so, yeah, the Italians have come in pretty hard here to Africa. Hopefully we can hold on. We did build a factory in Cairo with the Brits, and we've moved up some South African troops here, and a couple more are walking up, and we'll see what we can do there. The Graf Spee came across and tried to kill the destroyers and the sub here, but failed. So one destroyer headed north, the destroyer headed south with the transport. Over here in Far East Command, there is a oh, we still got to do a couple moves here for Far East Command. Yeah, there's only 3 of us here today, folks, and this is a really tough game to play with 3 people. You inevitably forget to do things. But China and Japan are slugging it out. Japan took a couple of territories. China took one back, this Hunan, and they killed a veteran troop doing it. So you can see the red troops for the Japanese. They're just really top-notch on the attack and the defense, and then the fighters as well. You can't build these. These are just troops and fighters that are much better, but once they're dead, they're dead. Japanese have gathered everybody there. Holland is about to be taken, but it wasn't taken yet. So they got $18 at the end of the round, but now Germany is going to take Holland, it looks like. And so that way, that money actually just disappears. Just got off a text with Doug from Historical Board Gaming, and the money just disappears. It doesn't go to Germany. So if you ever run into that, there you go. Anzac saved her money, and South Africa saved her money, and Canada saved her money as well. So they're going to have a little bit stronger economy. Second round, hopefully be able to answer a bit for this. Both Russia and America.
USA saved their money too.
Oh, USA saved money, so you're going to have like 34 or something next round. They, both Russia and America rolled poorly for their economies. I think Russia rolled a 9 and America rolled a 9.
8.
An 8?
Or 9.
I think Russia rolled an 8 and America rolled a 9, or an 11. Maybe Russia rolled an 11. I don't know. 10? I don't know. But they rolled pretty low. You want to roll at least a 13 or better to get above average. But unfortunately it didn't happen. But we'll see what happens here. The Germans have activated Hungary and Romania, but can't use them until they declare a war on the Russians. And Finland, as you can see, is getting a little bit of love up here. Germans dropping stuff off and trying to surround the Soviets before things take off too much. Well, we'll let you know what happens at the end of round 2. Alright, round 2 is well and truly done, and lots of fun stuff went on here. Start with the Germans. They have now taken control of all of France, and they're welcome to it, I say. But they did alright. Their U-boat fleet is doing quite well. We did sink a few of them with our planes and a destroyer, but we lost a destroyer and a sub as Britain. Canada, who saved money on the first round and got a $3 bonus on the first round, was able to build 3 destroyers, which are probably going to get sunk right away, but hey, if that draws off U-boats from England, good for us. There was a U-boat convoying here, but they took it out, but they lost a destroyer doing it. The French Foreign Legion tried to get to Tripoli and sent a bunch of guys in and lost 2 and didn't kill anybody, so that didn't work out so well. Italy, of course, is tooling things up a bit here. They've sent their fleet back home to protect some other interests, I guess, and have closed the Suez and took Syria. So things are going pretty well for the Axis, as they always do here in the opening few hours of the game. The British built a tank down here, and South Africa had saved, so they had enough money to build a tank. And small fleet over here, but can't go in now because Transjordan was taken. And Calcutta continues to build up and built a destroyer. The Japanese are slugging it out with China here, and China is doing okay. The Communists decided to go teach the Japanese a little bit of the Chairman Mao rules of life, and took a couple of spots there, but I'm sure not long for this world. Japanese are bulking up their navy, and a bunch of naval infantry built a POW camp in Tokyo. FEC, because the Germans took Holland, were able to come down here and take some money islands, so they took a couple of money islands and added $8 to their coffers. And also Anzac came over and took to add to theirs. Yeah. So not an awful lot going on down here. Pretty quiet. America is just trying to keep the fleet a little separate, as you may or may not know. When Japan decides to do a sneak attack, they have to do it by turn 7. We're entering turn 3 here, so I'm sure they will. But when they do a sneak attack on US ships, well, for anybody, nobody gets to shoot back on the first round at all, so they're just a punching bag for 1 round. And then for the US Navy, for every round thereafter, they're -2 on their rolls. So destroyers are only defending at a 2, and whatnot. You can do the math on that. So it's not a nice situation. So America is trying to spread out the fleet and make the Japanese use those sneak attacks in a variety of areas. That's pretty much it here. We'll have to wait and see what goes on in the next round. The British bombed the German factory here for 9 and tried to target the AA gun, but the bomber missed. So unfortunately, that's too bad. And Canada is being convoyed here. It's very unpatriotic of you. We're all Canadians here, of course. But that's pretty much it for the round. I don't think, is there anything else, guys, that jumps out at you as being a huge deal? The Russians just standing pat right now and building guards units and tanks and whatnot. Looks like they've sent all their stuff from Novosibirsk west to go shore up against the inevitable incursion by the Wehrmacht. So, all right. Well, we will see what happens on the rest of turn, or on turn 3. All right. See you in a bit. All right, folks. Well, it's been a messy round number 3. We're gonna head over here and show you what's going on.
I won't put the battleships through.
Okay. All right. So we'll get these battleships here. So the British sent everything they had at the German fleet here. They had actually received a free battleship and a sub from Norway on the German turn, and sent them down there, and they sent 7 fighters and 2 tacticals and a bomber, and they lost all but the bomber, or the 2 bomber, or 1 bomber, but they punched a few holes in the German fleet. But the Germans scrambled 3 fighters from here, and so they lost 1 fighter too, so there's that. Up here, the 3 U-boats were sunk for the cost of 1 destroyer, and Canada held its money this round. Italy decided to head down here, and they took Greece. So they have Greece and Corinth and Crete. So they got a lot of places for their planes to land. But the French Foreign Legion had a little bit more success this time and moved in. They still lost a guy, but there we go. And putting a little bit of pressure on the Italians. But the Italians now have 4 transports and a number of fellows to move around. Pretty quiet on the Eastern Front for the Germans. They just piling everybody up in Romania for a big push into the Soviet Union. And the Soviets are up here because the Germans are also building up in Finland, as you can see. So we'll see how that goes. The Germans also got a coastal battleship from... That was from Norway, right? Yeah. Russians building up in their factory center areas, ready to push back. The British were able to kick the Italians out of Upper Egypt and took Ethiopia. So Haile Selassie is back on the throne. A couple of tanks moved up from South Africa, and 1 more built in South Africa, and they built 3 more in the factory in Cairo. Transjordan changed hands a couple of times this round, and the Italians activated Iraq. This is turn 4 that we're going into, so we got to make sure the Pro-Allied and Pro-Axis each get an extra unit. Calcutta just continues to build men. For Calcutta, they also upgraded their factory, and they have 3. They have to build their first 3 builds. Pardon me, have to be men. So they're building men, but then they're getting help from other places. Britain is building men and whatnot in there as well. The Chinese are under heavy duress by the Japanese. The Japanese seem to be having their way over here, and not much China can do. The communists made a bold punch into Shanxi, but lost 5 guys and killed a couple of Japanese troops. For those of you who don't know, these red veteran troops actually defend at a 6 on home soil, because they defended a 5, and all Japanese, is it just infantry? Defended a +1, or is it all?
It's
Okay, so all the infantry defended a +1. So typical infantry defended a 5, but these veterans defended a 6. So it's basically like a fighter. Okay, so they're pretty OP, but there you go. And Japanese have all this territory here, of course. But all the money islands have been gobbled up by Anzac and FEC. Not sure how much longer Japan's going to let that go on, but we'll hope for a while. And America continues to build up here ever so slowly. And Anzac after taking Dutch New Guinea, because it's pro-Axis or pro-Allied, pardon me, they're able to just take the fleet, moved it down there, and they built another destroyer and a cruiser here. So if we head over here, we're just going to show you, this is Germany's build coming up. As you can see, they're not hurting for money. But if we look here at everybody's, oh, got to move these guys down. Where is Commie China at right now? 3?
3, yeah.
Okay. And South Africa and whatnot. And where's Nationalist China? What are they sitting at?
They're at 6.
6. Okay, so we're going to move that guy down to 6. And Anzac is actually up to 15 now. And FEC, I believe we had... Oh no, FEC is at 33 now. So I'll make sure we got the right amount of money going there. But America rolled a pretty good roll. They got 15, I think, on their last roll. So that's not too bad. We still haven't done the big 22, 23, 24, something like that. But not too bad. And on the first time Japan attacks UK or Anzac or anything like that, it's going to go up 25. So that'll put them up to 70. So if Japan does do an attack this round, probably next round the States will be in the war. Which would be good, because both Germany and Japan and Italy are kind of having their way. So we could use some of that good American help out there. Nobody's done any of the technology right now. Big mess of dice. Nobody's done any technology. Again, this sheet was made by Rob Poole, one of my subscribers, who did this up and sent it in, and you can get it on one of my other videos. If I remember, I'll throw a link to it on this video. But it's a handy dandy chart. I'll just move the dice out of the way so you can get a decent look at it there. Alright. Well, alright, we're going to keep slugging away at it here, and we'll let you know how turn 4 goes in just a moment. Okay, turn 4 is over, and we're going to just take a quick look at the board and get going.
Your Russian army there.
And we have the Italians and the Brits trading some land here. You'll notice the French Foreign Legion is gone. They made a strong push into here, but just were too few. And the Italians have 4 transports. They were able to bring everything they owned down, and then they built a couple of tanks up there and built 3 infantry here. And so they did all that. And they took back Transjordan, of course, but pretty thin over here. But now they've got a lot of units that they can move around. So they're probably going to sweep across North Africa here pretty soon. The British came down and activated Brazil. So they got a few free guys and a couple of boats. We'll see what happens there. South Africa saved up for a couple turns, built another tank. British moved up and they took Somaliland. And so the Italians have nothing south of north. Germans pushed in here pretty hardcore, and as I say, the Russians backed off. Not much else to be told there. The Russian fleet sortied up to the north. The last German U-boat that was up there got killed, but there's a couple more, so it wasn't the last one, but it was the one that was convoying. And over here, China is on her last leg. This is probably the last turn for Nationalist China. Communist China is probably also dead. But the Russians have moved quite a force up here, and they're starting to take some Japanese territory. Not sure if that concerns Hirohito or not, but I guess we'll find out. Japanese also have all of this. They declared war on the Western powers, so they took everything that they could and brought everything down here. And they do have their sneak attacks left, so...
Nope, but don't, because America...
On America, though. Oh, America's in the war now, aren't they? No, you can still use a sneak attack, because you're not at war with them yet, so... But if he declares war on you next turn. So you could use it this round, but too far away. So Calcutta is pretty bulked up, and the Anzac sortied out here because they're a little too far away. Came and sank a transport, but too late because the Japanese are starting to gobble up the money islands here. So they'll probably take these 2 or 3 this next round and just get their war production just cranked out. Americans, I don't think built much over here, but they are now in the war. They're up to 80, and over here we have a little bit doing a little carrier action. And probably going to start bringing some guys over and helping out the beleaguered Russians. we'll let you know what goes on here on turn 5. Alright folks, lots of stuff heated up here on turn 5. Some abysmal rolling, but I'm not going to whine about that anymore. So Germany has gone in here and took Oral Kursk, but it was taken back by a Soviet contingent. But you see that kind of like when we have the navies and you get your big armies. So there's one tank with a cube underneath it there, plate, and that's representing that big schmoz right there, which is 2 steps away from Moscow right now. And as we look at Moscow, Moscow is pretty loaded up for bear. Lots of KV-1s in there and some guards units, so probably pretty safe, we're hoping, as the Allies. Just over here, America's getting some stuff over because we've been able to eliminate most of the German fleet. So here we go. The Americans came down here with a bit of force and landed some guys here to help out the British who came up from Brazil. So they've activated 3/4 of Brazil so far. But the Italians are punching back now because they killed all the French Foreign Legion, and with their transports they're able to move around no problem. Drop guys in. They built air and some tank and some men there last round. Just going by quickly because we're running out of time today. So there's the Russian fleet, was able to get rid of that, and Germany's been doing very well rolling its 2s for its defense on subs. Every time we attack a sub, it kills whatever's attacking it. So they only have 1 sub left, so hopefully that's done. But Italy and Great Britain continue to trade North African space here. But the Brits have about 16 tanks up here now, so I think it might be time to put the real hurt on Italy, but we'll see. Because Italy keeps taking Transjordan every turn to close the Suez. South African tank halfway up. Calcutta is safe for now. But again, China, Nationalist China and Communist China have both been destroyed. They no longer exist. Does Nationalist China have any money left, Andy?
No, they got 3.
We got $3. So they could put a guy in there. We'll see if he chooses to do that. Maybe slow down the tanks a little bit, but not really. Over here, we had a big battle. I don't know if you remember the big Anzac fleet, but it came in here and absolutely rolled horribly, and the entire fleet got wiped out in 2 rounds. And we got 5 hits, I think, 6 hits.
Yeah, you killed 3 subs and a destroyer. And
Yeah.
I tipped those.
3 subs and a destroyer and tipped everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 7 hits in the whole thing, which I guess in 2 rounds isn't bad, but still, we lost the entire fleet. So Sydney's kind of ripe for the taking right now, but we'll see. We'll see. The Japanese definitely, you can't compete with the Japanese as a single nation. So we'll see what happens. The Americans here sorted out to here, and they've got a couple loaded carriers, lots of money. So we'll see what we see. The Russians keep moving down into this area, and they're making quite a bit of money on the backs of the Japanese. Did you you forgot to put roundels down in Korea and Dali in there?
Yes.
Did you get the money for them?
Yes.
Okay. Lots to think about here, guys. We only have 3 guys playing this monstrous game, and 1 person is the Axis, 2 people are the Allies, but there is a lot to worry about. So if you're watching this and saying, hey, you forgot to, or oh, hey, don't forget about that, well, we're doing our best, and it is a great game, and it's not quite as heavy as 36 and a bit heavier than 1940 Axis and Allies Global. But it's a great game nonetheless. As you can see, we have some partisans popping up here in the German flanks and the German rear here. So if they are not destroyed this round, they only defended a 2. But if they're not destroyed this round, then on the Russian turn they become infantry and they take back possession of that territory. Alright, well that's just about it for this. We'll come back with the end of turn 6. Probably going to be our last turn today. And we're hoping to perhaps continue this on a different date. But we'll see. We'll get one more turn in and we'll let you know. All right, thanks. Bye-bye. All right, everybody, round 6. This is our last round for the day, and unfortunately we're going to have to clean this thing up, but maybe with some really close, in-depth videoing we can reestablish it at a later date. We'll start over here as Italy continues to put its build on, and we have the Anzac, as we know, got shattered last round, so they just put up a blocker here to stop the massive Japanese fleet. But the Americans have decided to come down and lend a hand, so we'll see what we see with them, and they're pouring all their money into the Pacific right now. So hopefully that'll check the Japanese a little bit, they built, as we'd see, a Yamato. Got a loaded carrier up there. But not without some concern as the Russians continue to peel away a little bit of money. The Japanese are also threatening the Russian factory town of Novosibirsk, and they could take it because they've got all those guys, veterans attack at a 4, a couple of tanks at a 5, and then they've got their 5 fighters that attack at 8. So looks like could be a dark day for the Soviets. If they win, then we have a reprieve as the Allies. If they lose, I think the writing's kind of on the wall. The Japanese punched into Burma with some pretty big force here. The Calcutta is still looking pretty strong though, and they've got blockers up everywhere. The Japanese have a lot of transports here, so they can go any direction from there. They have a naval base and everything, so they can send some guys anywhere they want. Heading this way though, not a ton of action here, but we had a couple of battles, and the Italians, as they go last, are able to respond to this, and they took back Syria. Transjordan was not taken this turn. The tank went through and blitzed through Syria and came back to Iraq though. Cairo, the tanks sorted out. There was 11 tanks that came out into Alexandria, killed everything, and I had 4 tanks left and they died. They killed 1 infantry to the Italian attack, so pretty disappointing dice rolling again, but at least we killed some Italian stuff on the way. I think you had 9 units there at the beginning when I first attacked. Yeah. So I killed 9 Italian units, 10 total, and I lost 11 tanks doing it. So not a fair trade at all. not a fair trade at all. But that's just me. I'm gonna let other people roll for me from now on. But America, although they're not spending any money, did do their Operation Torch here, took back northern Algeria, promptly lost it, but we do have a follow-up with some tanks and whatnot, so hopefully giving the Italians a moment of pause and let them consider life, and maybe they should go home and just party or something. Over here in Russia, not much has changed, just tooling up for a big fight. The Germans, again, they built some more U-boats.
Oh, you moved over Russians.
And,
Oh my god, I can't. Let's play one more round.
Okay, so maybe we will play one more round, and we'll
So
see.
many juicy targets.
We'll see. We'll see what happens here. The Russians and the Brits have their fleets together there. Canadians have brought over some troops, and they're building up a little bit here. So we'll see what goes on. The idea is that the Axis have to have 12 different victory cities by 10 turn or later. So they have to hold them at 10 turn 10, pardon me. If they hold them now, it's not nobody cares. We have until turn 10 to dislodge them. So that's where we're at. Not much else to say. I think you can see what's going on here, and we'll see what happens on turn 7. Not sure if it's going to happen here in the video. You'll find out in a second. If it doesn't happen, take care, hug your loved ones, and may the dice be with you.